Hey y'all, this is Marley K. Hope y'all are well. Got a story that I want to share with you about the Preventing Private Paramilitary Activity Act of 2024. It's a nice name to basically outlaw militias. And so, if you know anything about the Constitution, the Second Amendment, and the right of individuals to bear arms to protect themselves from the Uncle Sam. I'll have to talk a little bit in code. Um, Considering what's happening in Texas, considering what is happening all across the country, considering we are at the cusp of this nation falling apart and the economic system collapsing, Congress is creating these little acts and bills that they're passing, and they're being done silently. So I want to give a shout out to JWTV because he mentioned this yesterday on his video, and I haven't really been keeping up with the congressional acts that have been passing as of late because there's so much other stuff going on that is tied to biblical prophecy. But I need to pivot back to this because this is going to impact how we protect ourselves. I want to read this bill to you, and then I want to share with you why it is significant because it's going to limit the number of people who can gather to protect themselves. And it's pretty doggone scary because it's only a small number of people, like two, can get together. So it's really like a plan to prevent rebellion among armed folks, making it illegal and making it um, unlawful so that they can pick you up and put you in jail or prison on federal charges if if three people or more gather to protect yourself. So that means if you have a little group of people who you are going to come together with and protect your community, if it's more than three of you, then you got an issue. So you're going to have to gather um, differently and plan differently. But you need to also keep up with all these new laws that are coming out because the things that they had on the books now could be outlawed. It's just, to me, it just seems like this is just more confirmation that the Constitution is dead. And the fact that they try to dress this up and change the name and call something a paramilitary, something other, instead of just saying a militia, because that's basically who they're directing this towards. And then defining what a militia is, which we'll go over in this video as well, is significant because, again, if only a small group of people can come together, or you consider this and considered a threat to the nation nationally at a federal level, is insane. So that, to me, it just seems as though the federal government is setting up for a fight with the citizens and possibly the states. So doing so, putting this in place would mean that if states decided to go to war with the United States in a civil war and succeed, it would mean that citizens who decided that they wanted to help their state could be considered violating this particular act. So it just sets up a whole different stage of scenarios we hadn't planned for. So let's get into this. So this bill was introduced on January 16th. Notice nobody talking about it. And it's been read twice. So this is called S 3589 to amend Title 18 United States Code to prohibit unauthorized private paramilitary activity and for other purposes. In the Senate of the United States, Mr. Markey, and Mr. Markey is a Democrat. I want y'all to pay attention to this. It is the sponsor, Democrat. Mr. Markey introduced the following bill, which was read twice and referred to the Committee on the Judiciary. A bill to amend Title 18 United States Code to prohibit unauthorized private military activity and for other purposes. The act may be cited as the Preventing Private Military Activity Act of 2024. So, the definitions are here. So they're going to tell you what ammunition is: armed forces, dangerous weapon, explosive or incendiary device, firearm, large capacity ammunition feeding device. So it says A means a magazine. Oh, I'm sorry. So it gave you the so I was going to say it's giving us the definition of everything. So A means a magazine, belt, drum, feed strip, or small device that has a capacity of or that can be readily restored or converted to accept more than 10 rounds of ammunition. So this is considered large capacity ammunition feeding device. So if you have a firearm that can hold more than 10 rounds, that's problematic. Does not include an attached tubular device designed to accept or capable of operating with only 22 caliber rimfire ammunition. I don't know anything about this type of thing, but for those of you who have firearms, who have been in the military, or who have served as contractors for the military, you may be able to add some context to this. To me, it sounds like it's talking about things that civilians would have, but they're concerned about the number of people who may get together and have these things. Like, to me, it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. To be concerned about somebody. I know it says more than 10 rounds, but I mean, to me, 10 rounds is a small amount to have. If you're under attack in your community and you only have 10 rounds and you got a group of people who have more than you and you only have 2-3 people, it's something just ain't adding up here. Anyway, let me continue. So it says National Guard. The term National Guard has the meaning given that the term in Section 101C of Title 10 and Section 101 of Title 32. And this is the other reason why I'm thinking it is about Texas, because they put this stuff in here. And so to me, it's a dig at Greg Abbott and other states who are trying to be about states' rights and may have to call up militias because the states don't have enough National Guard, because a lot of the National Guard units are being deployed overseas. They've been federalized. So they're not available to protect states, which, we all need to be concerned about if you are in the United States, because that's our military, the state's military. So if it's activated and sent across to seize, or if it's sent someplace else, say to another state to take care of something else, then that means your state doesn't have a military. And so then the state could call up militias, and the government has decided to rename them and say, no, you can't do that. So this is what is playing out when you talk about civil war. So this is how we're seeing gradually and legally how this thing is going to play out, basically. But it's going to impact us as well, because if you're doing something that don't have anything to do with the border fight or civil war, you could just be trying to protect your community, then you could get caught up in this as well, which is why you need to know about it. So it says person. The person means that in any individual, partnership, corporation, company, association, firm, society, organization, or government governmental entity, whether incorporated or unincorporated. So a person now could be a partnership, corporation, company, association, firm, society. So basically, a person is anybody, anything. My house coat can be a person. It's crazy. Private paramilitary organization. So it says the term private paramilitary organization means any group of 3 or more persons associating under a command structure for the purposes of functioning in public or training to function in public as combat support, law enforcement, or security services. So if 3 or more people get together and decide we're going to protect our community, y'all just happen to have military training or military backgrounds, and you're doing it in such a way, in such a structured way, that it could be perceived that there's some military training, you could be labeled as paramilitary, private paramilitary. And notice it said incorporated or unincorporated. So just y'all hanging together means you're an unincorporated group of persons acting as a private military organization. If that's what they want to say, they can say that. Regularly organized state militia. The term regularly organized state militia includes a defense force authorized under Section 109C of Title 32. I don't know about militias because Negroes don't be having no militias, because y'all know they don't let us have shit. Excuse my expression. But I will have to go see what militia is. I will include a link in no, I won't. Go find militia on your own, because these people already giving us a hard time about including stuff in our video comment sections and in our descriptions. So go look up section 109C of Title 32. I will include this bill link in the description, and you can go into it, do a search, find the section that you need to research, and look it up. This is probably going to apply more so to white people, because, again, black people are not allowed to have arms and gather in groups. They kill us. So, just saying. The state. The state means a state of the United States, the District of Columbia, and any Commonwealth territory or possession of the United States. So here, I want to stress to you, this lets you know no matter what you think you own in this country, you don't own it. Because if it's in a state, it means the federal government can control it, or they're trying to control it. The state and the federal government owns whatever is in the United States. We don't own nothing. We just rent it. Everything is rented, including us. So also with this state definition, it's just another clarification that there's going to be some civil unrest between states and the federal government in the coming future, and they are preparing for it. Unauthorized private paramilitary activity. Offense. It shall be unlawful to knowingly in a circumstance described in Section B while acting as part or on behalf of a paramilitary organization and armed with a firearm, explosive or incendiary device, or other dangerous weapons to 1. Publicly patrol, drill, or engage in techniques capable of causing bodily harm or injury. So you can't even practice protecting yourself. That's what it's saying. Interfere with, interrupt, or attempt to interfere with or interrupt government operations or a government proceeding. Obvious. Interfere with or intimidate another person in that person's exercise of any right of the Constitution of the United States. So to me, this seems like it is something to protect politicians and anybody who works in a government building or military. Assume the functions of a law enforcement officer, peace officer, or public official, whether or not acting under the color of the law, and thereby assert authority to purport or to assert authority over another person without the consent of that person. So, this to me says that if you try to act as some type of law entity in your community that's unauthorized, it could be perceived as paramilitary activity. Mm. And this is just going to be for everything. Now, don't think this is just about Texas. This also is about the New World Order because they're getting ready to cut up. Mm, 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 mm. Trained to engage in any activity described in paragraphs 1 through 4. Circumstances. The circumstances described in this section are that the conduct described in subsection A involves travel across a state line or national border. They don't want you to go help another state. The use of channels, facilities, or instrumentalities of interstate or foreign commerce. They don't want you to buy nothing. Involves a firearm, explosive or incendiary device, dangerous weapon that has traveled in interstate or foreign commerce. So if you're in your state, you cool, but they don't want you to cross lines. Um, mm. Involves the use of ammunition or large capacity ammunition feeding device that has traveled in interstate or foreign commerce. So they don't want you to take your firearms to another state and use them in some type of military activity. It can't be more than 3 of y'all. So if you're traveling, it's going to make it really difficult for y'all to travel to another place to help out another state. It's going to be difficult for you to travel um, in large groups to protect anything, really. It's more than 3 people. Obstructs, delays, or affects interstate or foreign commerce. So you can't have do like they did in Canada and some of the other places where they stopped government from functioning because they block roads and stuff. Exceptions shall not apply to the armed forces of the United States, National Guard, the Naval Militia, any regular organized state militia, or any unorganized or reserve militia called into service by a state or the United States. So I'm guessing it does not apply to these groups. A group of individuals who associate as a military organization solely for the purposes of historical reenactment or study. So if you reenact, if you pretend to be a military, don't apply to you. parade in public as part of a bona fide veterans organization with no intent to engage in activities prohibited by Section A. So you can be a veterans organization and practice playing, or just you parade. I'm sorry, not playing. You can parade, but you can't actually act as a militia. Students in an educational institution authorized by federal government or state to teach military science as a prescribed part of a course instruction. So it's like a ROTC, that type of thing. Members of an organization that is authorized by federal or state law to provide paramilitary, law enforcement, or security services, training, or to engage in paramilitary activity, law enforcement, or security services when performing the functions authorized by law. And the penalty, any person who violates the crap, you can get probation for a term of more than 1 year. In the case of a violation that occurs after prior conviction, you can get 2 years or probation, or both, a year of probation. 3, in the case of violation that results in damage of property, you can be in prison for not more than 2 years, or both. 4, in case of a violation that results in bodily injury, the person shall be fined under the title not more than 5 years, or both, which means probation, a year probation, or 5 years. And death of a person can mean any term of years for life. So you can go to jail or get probation for this. And it says a person who violates subsection A shall forfeit to the United States any property, personal or real, involved in, used, or intended to be used in any manner or part to commit or to facilitate the commission of the violation, or that constitutes or is derived from proceeds traceable to the violation. So this is a very loose, scary term, because they can come and take any property. You can live in your house and they could say, oh, well, you were living in your house plotting this, so we taking it. So this is a very dangerous bill. It's going to be used not in a good way. Let me just say that. All right. And this is coming from Congress, so it's pretty darn scary. Unauthorized Private Military Act 2741. So I'm not going to really read any more of this. I'm going to put the link in the description so that you can read it, but I want to read to you what a militia is and why that particular bill is important. So it says the meaning of a militia in the Second Amendment. So this is the second article examining contributions to our understanding of the Constitution from the 3 brand new volumes of the documentary history of the ratification of the Constitution of the United States. So I want to go down to a particular section of this where it kind of describes what a militia is, the person who wrote that particular amendment, and why they talked about it. So it says the power of the sword, say the minority, this was Pennsylvania, is in the hands of Congress. My friends and countrymen, it is not so, for the powers of the sword are in the hands of the yeomanry of America from 16 to 60. The militia of these free commonwealths, entitled and accustomed to their arms when compared with any possible army, must be tremendous and irresistible. Who are the militia? Are not are they not ourselves? Is it fear then that we shall turn our arms, each man against his own bosom? Congress have no power to disarm the militia. Their swords and every other terrible implement of the soldier are the birthright of an American. What clause is in the state or federal constitution hath given away that important right? The unlimited power of the sword is not in the hands of either the federal or state governments, but where I trust in God, it will ever remain in the hands of the people. So it says this passage leaves nothing to interference. I'm sorry, nothing to inference. Cox states explicitly that the militia consists of every man from 16 to 60 years of age. So it says, basically, you can't take away though or limit the number of men and the number of weapons a man can have, because they're supposed to be greater than the army of the government. And so what the other bill that I read to you that was passed is something that undermines the Constitution when it talks about a militia. So it's just interesting watching them come up with this stuff really quickly, and people like not really pay attention to how those things can impact us on a local level. So I just want y'all to pay attention to what's going on. Um, we got to keep an eye on Congress. You got to keep an eye on Democrats and Republicans. You got to keep an eye on Texas, what's happening in Texas. You got to keep an eye on what's being passed and what's coming through your state, especially if your state has signed on to the brief with Texas. Because these amendments are targeting those particular states. And if you live in one, then you could be impacted if you're trying to prep or if you're trying to have some type of um, security to protect your community in the event that something occurs soon. Just say that. In relation to the collapse of this country, because if you don't know by now, it's collapsing. It's collapsing. Don't know how to tell how much more. I don't know what else I can say to convey that. Unfortunately, not a lot of Black people are paying attention to this. Black people are going to be caught off guard and unaware because they're not going to have tools to protect themselves. They're not going to know the law. They think they're going to be able to pile up by them, in groups and air it out. That's not going to happen. If you gather in 3 or more, you consider the paramilitary, and that's how they're gonna get a lot of our people locked up. So if you can share this information with people and let them know what is happening. America is changing quickly, legally, and most people are not being aware, not aware of the things that can impact us locally. So please like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell notification so that you'll be notified each and every time I upload new content. Follow me on Rumble and Odyssey in the event that this channel is taken down. You can follow me on other platforms, and all of the content that is on this channel is backed up on Odyssey and on Rumble. Please make sure that you are still subscribed to the channel, because not long after I reached 500 followers, I started losing followers. Just like they gave you a couple days where they didn't suppress or shadow ban you, and then right after that, you start losing followers. So this platform is just crazy. It's insane. But you understand why they are doing it, because they want to keep people asleep. They want you to be unaware because they have a depop deletion agenda. And so the more people that are caught off guard or unaware, they can be institutionalized or deleted, and that falls into the plan. So my goal is to make sure that happens to no one, but unfortunately it will happen to a lot of people because so many people are distracted by other stuff, uh, in the news, sports, Super Bowl, Cat Williams, Taylor Swift, uh, everything except for prepping. So, in any event, keep prepping, keep praying, keep seeking the Most High. Um, if you'd like to support the channel financially, links are in the description below. And again, try to wake people up, but don't waste too much time because we don't have that much more time. Now is a time to get all the wisdom and knowledge that you can in order to try to survive what's coming. And we also need to be aware of any laws that are changing because they will impact how we gather, what we do at a local level. This federal bill is going to impact us in our states. Now, it's up to our governors to be like, nope, they ain't doing it. But as long as it's on the books, you need to know about it because you have to obey it, especially if you're crossing lines, um, with firearms, so on and so forth. So these are some very scary times. I suggest you know about what is going on in this country because it is changing rapidly, and a lot of us are going to be caught off guard. So, again, please read this bill, read the full bill, keep up with it, sign up for alerts and notifications so that when there are changes made, you will know. It's February. This movie, Civil War, is coming out in April, but somehow I think we ain't gonna make it till April. That's just my thought. All right, y'all. This is Marta K, and I am out of here.